Hello, Caton. We're going to take a look at your 5 characteristics of light posting and give you some feedback on what we are seeing. So let's dive right in, take a look. First, I know this is your posting because I could see that you posted it. I was able to go in there and see who posted it, but you know, you have to have your name on all of these things, and right up there as you're doing your posting, and I'll go back here and show you where you would put that. So I'm going to kind of click on here. So as you're right up here, as you can see where it says title, you got to put your name underscore whatever the project is. Otherwise, it's like sending an email without a subject line. Then we're like, what's this about? So anyway, be sure to do that. That's really important because everyone's making photos of the bottles and they're going to look very similar. So you don't want, to not have your name on everything that you turn in. So just be sure that you're paying attention to that. All right, back to your imagery. Let's take a look at direction. So you got positions 1 through 9. I'm going to presume that this means that they are going in order 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, or 8, and then your choice. I can identify them. However, again, you're going to want to go ahead and put those position numbers as tags under each image as you're going. Image-wise, looking pretty good. It looks like you are sort of identifying where things should go. We'll say that this is position 1. You can see the shadow, that's from your camera. Then position 2, the shadows are coming from this direction. You can see the light is hitting from that direction there. Then the light doesn't really change a whole lot here. It changes a little bit, but it doesn't change a whole lot. But I can see that the angle has moved. So we'll say this would be position 1. This is 2, this is 3, then 4, now we have a definite position change. It's up here. 5, light right behind it, that's good, and so on. 6, the light's should be coming from over here, and you've got the light coming from down here. You've got this at position, looks like either 4 or 3. Looks like, 2 or 3. Looks like somewhere in between, like right in here, if that's where the tabletop would be. So this is not quite right. This is not quite right. This would be position 7, which would be here. And the shadows are going in the wrong direction if the light was there. Position 8, should be right about here now. And so, yeah, you got a few of these identified as wrong, but I don't know specifically what you're identifying them as because you don't have them labeled. So we'll definitely want to change that up so that we're not having to guess. Intensity. Now, here we're basically using 2 lights, still have direction based off the key light. Then you add that fill light. And again, we want some identification on these in terms of what you're doing. Is it a 1:2 ratio? Is it a 1:3 ratio? And so on. Composition-wise, we're looking pretty good. There's some repetition here, and we want to avoid stuff like this, where it's pretty much the same composition, just a slightly different lighting. Now, in project number 2, experiment 2, you're going to be asked to do stuff like that. However, not in this one, and in future ones, we're not going to be trying to do that either. So unless it's very specifically saying, set it up, don't move the camera, don't move the objects, just move the light, you're always looking to shake up the compositions there. Temperature. This is where we had 2 lights, and you could be modifying both of them to create a variety of different effects. It looks like we're not modifying the 2 lights in different directions. So one of the things that you're able to do in this part of the experiment with temperature is one of the lights could be set to very cool, another light set to very warm, the camera then set to a 3rd setting, and you can get some beautiful, beautiful sort of color shifts there. If you look at some of your peers, which you already have, you'll see evidence of those kinds of things. That said, you're able to modify the camera settings pretty well. We do have some background like noise, if you want to call it that. It's just basically this stuff right in here, this stuff right in here. you don't need those in your composition. It's not contributing to the composition. So when you're looking through that viewfinder, be sure to try to see everything and not kind of overlook small things like that. It could have been something easily overlooked, or even something you may not have seen because your rangefinder might not have been showing you that, but just something to pay attention to. Otherwise, very good use of the entire picture plane in these compositions. Contrast. Here's where we're using the reflector to shine light back into the scene. You have one light, and then you add a reflecting card to bounce light back in. That's different than intensity, where you're adding a light. You're adding in more brightness. Here, we're just taking the brightness from a single light and then redirecting it back into the scene. Big difference. This one's a really kind of a cool image. We still have some background noise here. I think you've got your camera setting on maybe too wide of an angle. You're having a hard time controlling to get that background out of the shot. And maybe these bottles are a little too far away as well. So really kind of, as you're moving forward with the different objects that we use, really sort of try to explore that, how you can sort of use every part of the picture plane to your greatest advantage. Here, I can see that you're reflecting a little bit of light back into the scene, this being a complete position 5 shot where the light's coming right from the back. That's a good one to be identifying. You're getting some shadows from your camera here. And, you know, I don't think you're in trouble over it, meaning I don't think it's like that, you know, getting off the, you know, it's terrible. It's just we don't necessarily need them. Again, also here, these images are just way too close to one another in terms of composition. It's like you just shifted the camera over just a little bit, and then I can't identify anything else that's changing. So you want to really be exploring the variety here from shot to shot to shot when you're selecting these for your posting. Much too repetitive. Hardness. Hardness is all about the shadows now, whether they have soft diffuse shadows or whether they have crisp shadows. And because we're using 2 lights, one of them diffused, the other one not, then both of them diffused, you're going to get a variety, and that's the point. To have both soft shadows and hard shadows at the same time in your image is going to create a tremendous amount of complexity from the images. It takes it from being just one note to adding that variety. And we're getting that. I mean, I can tell like an image like this, that's totally diffused. Both lights are going to be diffused on that. And then something like this, where it looks like perhaps one light was diffused and the other one was not. So that's all very good. You're getting much closer to the objects here. Yields a much more dynamic and interesting composition, as opposed to something like this, which tends to look a little bit more like a picture of bottles. You get my drift. So again, we have a little bit of noise right back here that may have something to do with the wide angle of your lens. Also, so let's take a look here. Here, you've got this composition that's going on, and you're identifying it as your contrast. We have an identical composition, pretty much, for hardness, right? That's telling me that we're not fully resetting, and we're not, you really want to kind of reset things and explore each individual sort of module component of these exercises in and of themselves. So you don't want to, you want to avoid, I'm going to shoot this one for hardness, and I'm going to keep the composition and shoot this one for hardness, right, or contrast. So again, when you're working, kind of isolate the objective a little bit better so that you're getting more variety in your postings. Let's see what your peers had to say. For all in my composition and good repetition while conveying different shadows, temperatures, there's a lot of variety. The light is nice and they're interesting shadows. And there's a nice sense of focus. I really enjoy the use of shadows, okay? Nothing off the wall there. During the project, your different really stick out. Your temperature section and intensity, we believe, are your strongest suits. It could have made a little easier to understand the image if you labeled them. Yes, I agree with that. Hardness section is beautifully shot. The soft shadows really make an image. Yeah, I mean, clearly I can see that you're improving over time too. As you're getting farther and farther into the project, your images are improving. However, those things that we talked about in terms of repetition of the composition, and then the identification, it's just basically you need to focus a little bit more on the details on the posting and as you're shooting, because although this is a creative exercise, clearly, this is also a technical that we want to get past the technicals, and the way to do that is to pay attention to them. So we want to make sure there's evidence that you have been paying attention to them. Here, I don't have that indication. Not that I'm saying you didn't pay attention to the technicals, you have to make images, but we want evidence of that. So when you're posting, be sure you're including that kind of stuff. All right, so you will also receive a numeric grade from me, but I wanted to be sure to record these for everybody so that you would have some feedback based off of what I'm observing in your images. And moving forward, you'll be able to resubmit stuff if you feel like, oh, I can improve on some of those things that we were discussing. So that'll be it. Enjoy your photographs, and we will see you in the studio.